You're at a party you almost didn't come to. Someone hands you a drink, smiles and asks the question, "So, probity, what do you do?" And something in you quietly deflates. It's not that you don't like the person. It's that you can already see the whole conversation like a script you've read 100 times. The weather, the weekend, the traffic, the polite nodding, the slow search for an exit. If a small part of you would rather talk about almost anything real than do this dance one more time, this video is for you. Because people who hate small talk are some of the most misunderstood people in any room. They get called cold, standoffish, a little arrogant maybe, too intense, hard to read. People assume they don't like others when often it's the opposite. So let's reverse the judgment. Hating small talk usually isn't a sign that you don't care about people. It's a sign that you care about something specific, the real conversation underneath the polite one. Here's the thing most people get wrong. They think there are two kinds of people, social people and unsocial people, outgoing and closed off. But that's not the line you live on. Your line is shallow versus deep. You're not avoiding connection. You're impatient for it. You're standing at the front door of a conversation, and what you actually want is to be let inside. And it turns out there's real psychology behind that hunger. In 2010, researchers led by Matthias Mehl did something unusual. They clipped a small recorder to people for several days, capturing tiny snippets of everyday conversation. Thousands of moments. Then they looked at who was happier. The pattern was striking. The happiest people weren't the ones talking the most. They were the ones having more substantive conversations, the real ones, and less of the surface chatter. Now I want to be honest with you because this channel doesn't do fake science. A larger follow-up study a few years later found something more nuanced. It confirmed that deep, meaningful conversation is reliably linked to well-being, but it did not find that small talk makes you miserable. So small talk isn't the villain here. The real finding is gentler and more interesting. Substance feeds something in us, and if you hate small talk, you may simply feel the absence of that substance more sharply than other people do. You don't hate the weather. You hate stopping there. Think about the conversations you actually remember. The one at 1 a.m. in a kitchen when someone finally said the true thing. The drive where nobody checked their phone. The friend who skipped, "How are you?" and asked, "How are you really?" Those moments don't drain your battery. They charge it. That's the tell. For a lot of people, small talk is comfortable and depth is effortful. For you, it can feel reversed. The small talk is the effort. The depth is the relief. And notice what your body does. In the surface conversation, you're a little outside yourself, watching the clock, managing your face, rehearsing the polite exit. In the real one, you forget the time. You stop performing. You're just there. That's not you being difficult. That's your system finally getting what it came for. So why does the world run on small talk anyway? Because small talk is safe. It's the social equivalent of testing the water before you jump. It tells two strangers quietly, "I'm friendly, I'm not a threat, we can do this." It's a doorway. And here's where it gets genuinely human. More recent research led by Nicholas Epley and colleagues found almost all of us misjudge deep conversation. We expect it to be awkward. We expect the other person won't care, or that we'll run out of things to say. And we're wrong. Over and over, people in these studies had deeper conversations than they wanted to, and walked away feeling more connected and happier than they predicted. We're in a sense too shy for our own good. Now sit with that for a second. If everyone is secretly underestimating how good real conversation feels, then the person who's impatient with small talk isn't broken. You might just be the one who feels the gap. The one who senses how much better this could be if you both stopped pretending and said something true. That's not a flaw. That's a kind of social honesty. And for some people it started early. Maybe you grew up in a house where the surface was calm, but nothing underneath got said. Where how was school was the whole conversation and the real things lived in the silence. If you learned young that small talk was where people hid, the polite version can feel a little like being lied to. Or maybe you were just the kid who noticed too much, who could feel the difference between someone being friendly and someone being real. That kind of radar doesn't switch off. It grows up with you and it sits at every party, quietly scanning for the one conversation worth having. You didn't decide to hate small talk. You learned what depth felt like and then you couldn't settle for less. But in this channel always tells you there's a shadow side. And if we're being real, you already know what it is. Sometimes I hate small talk stops being a preference and quietly becomes a wall. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: small talk is the bridge to the deep conversation you actually want. The weather is how strangers become people who talk at 1 a.m. in the kitchen. Nobody opens with their childhood. You earn depth in small, boring steps. So when hating small talk turns into refusing it, leaving the party early, going quiet in the group, deciding people are shallow before they get the chance to be deep, you don't protect your depth. You just end up alone with it. And that's the line worth watching. One version of you skips small talk because you're protecting your energy for the conversations that matter. The other version uses "I hate small talk" as permission to never risk a conversation at all. One is selectivity, the other is avoidance, wearing a smarter costume. Selectivity says, "I'll do 5 minutes of weather to find the one person worth an hour." Avoidance says, "Why bother? They're all the same anyway." If you've ever caught yourself in that second voice, you're not a bad person. You're tired. Surface conversation costs you more than it costs other people. But a wall built to protect your depth can slowly seal you inside it. And the cruel part is how reasonable it sounds from the inside. People are shallow. Nobody wants to go there. It's not worth the effort. Each thought feels like wisdom. But the research keeps showing we underestimate each other. The shallow person across from you might be waiting for the exact same door to open. Each of you convinced the other wants to stay outside. So what do you do with all this? You don't have to become a small talk person. Please don't. The world has enough people performing enthusiasm about the weekend. Instead, try seeing small talk for what it actually is. Not the conversation. The key to the door. You can move through it faster. A small, real question turns what do you do into something human in 30 seconds. What part of it do you actually like? People are usually relieved when someone opens the deeper door first. Remember, they're underestimating it too. You become the person who makes depth feel safe, and let yourself off the hook for the rest. You don't owe every stranger your inner world. Small talk can be a quick toll you pay to cross the bridge because you know where it leads. The goal was never to love the weather. It was to stop treating the doorway like the destination. Even one honest question is enough. What's actually been keeping you busy? Instead of you been busy, same length. Completely different door. And maybe that reframes the whole thing. Maybe you're not antisocial. Maybe you're not cold or difficult or too intense. Maybe you're just someone whose nervous system was built for substance over noise. Someone who would rather have 3 real conversations a month than 30 hollow ones. Someone who feels the difference between connection and performance and can't quite unfeel it. That's not a problem to fix. That's a compass. The next chapter isn't becoming more chatty. It's letting a few more people walk through the door and trusting that the small, boring steps are how the real ones begin. So here's my question for you tonight. When you avoid small talk, are you protecting your depth or are you hiding from the very connection you're craving? Be honest. The comment section is a good place for a real conversation. And if this felt like someone finally explained you, you already know which kind of person you are. Stay wired differently.